Welcome to the new podcast, Motherhood Unfiltered, Straight Shots, No Chasers. It's your girl, Brooke Ivy, and I am your host. And today we're going to get into our second episode, Overcoming Obstacles and Celebrating Victories. And I have one of my bestest friends in the whole wide world joining me today, Miss Dozier, none other, catwalk killer. Y'all don't know nothing about that. Okay, so I'm gonna bring on. All right, let's get into it. I am about to bring my bestie out of over 20 years at this point. We met many years ago in college. She is in the military. She is the mother of one amazing son, my godson. And she models, she dances, she works out like military style. Okay. Working out with her has me. But yeah, we're gonna get her out here, get into these questions, figure out like what she's doing because she is my voice of reason. Many times when I wanna no, you book when that's in my head, she's like, "Peace, be still, stay centered." So yeah, we're gonna get her out here. We're gonna get into it. All right. I have Miss Dozier here, my best friend. Um, welcome.
Thank
We
you
are
for having me.
here. Of course, girl, you're my co-host. So let's get a little bit into like how we met, and then I'll talk a little bit about, why I chose you, why you the chosen. You the one, girl. You the one, girl. And jumping in the air, you the one. Okay.
So I feel like there's like really two significant memories about how you and I met, right? And there one is, right, Ladies of Lightning, right? Because we both did major in high school.
Oh.
And so we did Ladies of Lightning together. That was a
Mm-hmm.
very interesting ride, right? Because MTSU is not a historically black college, right? It is a PWI, or at the time it was definitely giving more PWI energy. And so it was a fight. I had to fight for my life to try to like get the band to play music. To get the band to play music we could dance to, you know what I'm saying, have good songs. And then the other struggle I think that you and I had as the two tallest females, where I think me, you, and LaShawn,
Lord,
was that our captain was very petite. And the girl who
very.
she had created our dance routines was very petite. And so we'd have all these like quick arm movements, and you and I are like,
Ain't gonna happen.
who gonna be able to move that fast? Like it's giving Twin Towers and they were giving A Bug's Life. You know what I'm saying? So like, what am I supposed to do with that, Belle? And then the other memory for me is doing fashion shows together. I think we both were dance minors as well. Like, so we were both doing some
Yep.
dance stuff. But fashion shows, everybody called us the Twin Towers, right? And then somebody gave us the nickname Diva D and Diva B, right? Because
Who
they always saw
was
us
that?
together. He who shall not be named, honey. It's just not even
Oh, all right.
throw
So
the whole person in
nameless.
the la basura. So, but anyways, yeah, just toss him to the side, stiff arm him or whatever. But that was the nickname we carried at the time, and it was kind of like when those situations are like, when you see her, you see me. When you see me, you see her.
Ah,
You know. So those to me are like the two most significant memories that I have of how we met.
okay. So I chose you, best friend, because while both of us are single mothers, our walks are different. Us becoming single mothers, the story around that is a little different. Also, I felt like you were in a space at the time that I desired to be in. I was still in a lot of emotional turmoil given the situations that were going on. And I was just like, I need to get at that space. So I need someone to balance me out, and I feel like I'm slowly coming around to like where you are, just like in this realm, this space, so that's why I chose you because I feel like you would also have a good, stage presence. You're very articulate and knowledgeable about different things. And just, how I think we're both on this journey of breaking generational curses, right? And just recreating what motherhood looks like, what single motherhood looks like for us. And just adopting some new strategies that maybe our parents, grandparents just were not knowledgeable of.
Absolutely. I agree with that. I think like the main thing that comes to mind if I had a visual for putting away, stepping away from, right, breaking generational curses is like pushing them back from the table. Like when you're younger and you sit down and your mom makes you this plate and there's too much food there. And in our
Yep.
culture, it's like, you better clean that plate, right? I feel like that the best visual for me when I think about like, and I don't, I'm very big on phrasing, so I don't even really like the term breaking generational curses because why do I can just I can just step out of line, right? If there's this
Right.
line, this procession going, I can just step out of line. Or if everyone's at the table over consuming, I can just push
Right.
back from the table and step away. And so it is an honor for me to be a part of this. It's an honor for me to be your friend. And I think additionally you honor me, in just even I guess seeing my light and saying that I'm helpful, because to me that's the thing that makes me happiest, is to be able to help
Hmm.
those that I love. So it is an honor that you trust me enough, to even advise you when you're having tough times. And I think that we kind of knit together in that way, right? Like if I need some advice about, because I think the way you lead your life is very meticulous and organized, right? And I think that
Mm.
at
Organized
times,
chaos.
I mean, call it what you will, right? But I mean, like you always give me like, Stepford single mom, like sandwiches with the crust cut off, like the cute little like carrot
Mm.
sticks with shapes, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, if I want to, if I'm trying to give a little bit more Stepford, then I know. But yeah, I think we go together like peanut butter and jelly. So I'm excited for this journey.
Yeah, it should be fun. It should be fun. Okay. So now so what we gonna do? Let me tell y'all. Before we start any interview and get into the woo woo, we're gonna take a little shot. Okay. So raise the glass. Let's take this shot and get into it. Some real Can I? No, I ain't gonna curse. Okay. I'm gonna be good.
Okay.
All right.
Cheers to you.
Cheers.
Yay.
Ooh, Lord, I got a hole in my lip. Okay, so all right, so being in the military, it has a lot of different layers, and I just want to know how your military service has influenced your approach to motherhood. Like, what support systems have you found to be helpful within the military community?
So I would honestly say, right, as a single parent in the military, it's actually a bit more strenuous, right? And I think that in a lot of work settings, right, where there is a subculture for something, right, like in the
Hmm.
military, one of the subcultures is like toxic leadership, right? Or a subculture is just like
Mm.
the difficulty in balancing work-life balance, right? Like a big theme for the military is the difficulty in work-life balance. And they're working to improve that as a part of their overall offering, but I think there's still some difficulty there. So what I would say is the main thing that I learned when trying to integrate being a military single parent is
Hmm.
simplicity is key, right? So my life outside of the military, I simplify a lot because the time that I spend on duty at work can be very mentally and emotionally taxing, very physically taxing. And so at this present time, because my son is younger and is not quite ready to be involved in so many things, simplicity for me, right? And then also
Hmm.
empowering him as an individual to do things at his own kind of like rhythm, right, helps as well. So like last year or the year before last, I started shifting things where everything was within his grasp. So that allowed me time,
Hmm.
like, hey, on a Friday, we spend time together, we do movies, pizza, right? And then Saturday, so I can sleep in, he has his own routine, right? I get a snack, I get my drink, I fix my cereal. I try to start putting everything at his level so that he could reach it. And I think that helped with the overall simplicity of everything. That is like the biggest key for me is simplicity. And in regard to support, right? The military has several different things they I guess offer to you as support, but whether it truly is helpful or not, I think is dependent upon where you work, because you can't be going to too many appointments, right? You can't be taking too much
Hmm.
time off work. And so what I would say for me is in every location that I've gone to, God has provided a one-to-one relationship for me. right? Because he
Mm.
understands the complexity of being a military parent. So each place that I've been stationed, he has presented someone to me that I have been able to connect with and create that
Mhm.
one-to-one support system. So like when I was in Tampa, there was another single mother, right? She had a younger son, and we were able to balance one another because she was like, "Hey, he can come over and hang out." Her son, who was like just kind of getting into that learning phase and awareness, had difficulty with other people, but he could come and stay with me and have no problem, right? So I had that one-to-one.
Mhm.
And then I think one other thing I would add is like when I got to the National Capital Region, which is where I am now, like the DC, Arlington area, Virginia, Arlington, Virginia, my first supervisor here, right, was a Black woman, and she had been a
Wow.
single. And so she understood the brevity of just trying to balance life as a single mother. And so she was very supportive of the things I needed.
Right. I just want to ask the question because for me, thinking about like, you said simplicity, making things simple, having your son basically be more independent. I know for me, sometimes it almost makes me feel like, oh shoot, am I putting too much on him, or am I depriving myself by making things so simple? Do you ever like have those like moments of like, ugh, questioning yourself basically?
So absolutely. Most people don't know that I missed my son's first birthday, right? Because of the military. I was deployed at the time. I left when he was 9.5, 10 months. And so when I returned, he was 1.5. I had missed his first steps. I had missed, some other milestones for him. And that was very difficult for me as a mother. And then while being on deployment, it was a very precarious environment, right? A lot of nasty people. They say if you want to see who
Mhm.
somebody is in the military, go to another country with them, right? Because
Wow.
the way that they were being in your presence stateside absolutely changes, right? Like who they are. So I have to balance the mom guilt effect when it comes to
Eesh.
that, right? But what I try to look at is the overarching picture that if I set him up for independence, right, by the time he becomes an adult man, he will not be a problem, right, or a liability for someone else or for himself, right?
Bam.
Because in empowering him, I'm allowing him not to feel like he needs to depend on a woman or anyone else, right? So that allows him the ability to understand his worthiness. And then
Yes.
when I give him a task, if I see that he's having difficulty with it, we may shelve it for a while and then come back to it when I see that he's at the emotional, intellectual place to handle it, right? Or he has the physical dexterity to handle the challenge. But I always at least try and then, go from
Mhm.
there. But mom guilt is something that never goes away. I struggle with that throughout my timeline on a regular basis.
Right. I mean, just you saying it, I mean, at that moment, I had like this, like goosebumps basically, because we had those conversations during that time. Of course, I'm very close to you. I have a relationship with you and your child and your family. And it was just like, ooh, as a mom myself, just I know how hard that was. And kudos to you because all of us are not able. Like that is a real thing. Like thinking about leaving your child for longer periods. I have been faced with the thought of possibly doing that, and it's just like, hell no, ain't no way. I can't. So I mean that, like you said, looking at the bigger picture, knowing that being his sole provider, I mean, you had to do what you had to do, and that is the place we're in as single moms. A lot of the time, you just have to do what you have to do. So let's get. I don't think we really talked about this. What is your position? Because you say it, and I'm like, I have no idea what that means.
So right now, presently, right. So in the military, depending on where you're stationed, where you go, right, your job title will change. But I have three MOSs. That's a military occupational skill set. Um,
Okay.
the first one is telecommunications, right? So it's like kind of like what the guys at Comcast and Xfinity or Fios do, right? So that's fiber optics, that's coaxial, connecting TVs and things of that
Mhm.
nature, connecting the phones and internet in buildings. And then the second job that I have, or MOS, is 42 Alpha, which is human resources. The first one was
Okay.
25 Lima for all my military folks that are watching. Cable dog. But 42 Alpha, so the whole HR piece, right? Anything paperwork, we handle that. And then in 2015, I decided to reclass, which means you gain a new primary MOS, information technology specialist. So my current job is IT, and presently I
Ooh.
am the NCOIC. which means the head, the head bad bitch in charge. You feel me? I'm running things around that part. But no,
Run
so
it.
at
Run it.
NCIC, the neck service desk, right? So I run a service desk that services several thousand users in the National Capital Region. And I literally on daily am interacting with generals and like, top tier professionals in the GS system, which is like the government system.
Mhm.
That's what I do.
Okay. Yes, friend. Friend is accomplished. That's my best friend. Hey. All right. So, how do you approach conversations with your son about the absence of his father? Like, how do you ensure that he receives a positive male influence in his life?
Absolutely. So when Treble was 4, we were in Tampa, and
Mhm.
I wasn't even expecting to have the conversation that early, right? Like, but one day he was
Mm,
just like, "Where's my dad? Why isn't he here?"
mm,
It makes me really sad. And he just was like bawling and crying. And I think
mm,
that there's no best way to intro that conversation. But what I often do is I tell him, Treble, first and foremost, let me tell you that your father loves you, right? And presently he's not available to be an asset in your life, right? He's not available to add value to your life. And so as your
mm,
mommy, I decided to offer him the time, right, to get himself into focus, right, bring himself together and to come back in when he's prepared to add value, whenever that is, right? And I said, but also I want us to shift our focus to all the amazing people that we have in your life that do love you, right? And I'll name them off,
mhm,
G Papa, all of his grandparents, godparents, aunts, uncles. And I said, I know that it's very difficult when there's something that you have questions about, that you don't understand, that you really want to know more about. And I said, Mommy is sorry that she's not able to provide you those answers. But whenever you
mm,
want to talk about it, right, we can talk about it. And I just try to remain not overly positive, right? Because I want to make sure that I honor his feelings in the moment, right? And I gave him a hug and I said, it's okay to cry, right? I understand your frustration. I said, when I was very young, right? And I also connect the dots, right, with my father. Now, I know some people will probably disagree, right, in the Black community with me telling my son the truth about my father and I's relationship. But I feel
mm,
like it's that thing that will help us move past that timeline of disconnectivity with the father and how not having one present can often cause certain behavioral issues or doubts or seeking approval from others, right? So I said, when I was younger, my father and I's relationship, was tenuous, right? He wasn't always around, and that was difficult for mommy. But
mhm,
I want to work in your relationship, right, with absence or presence, to make sure that you have everything that you need, right? And we'll continue to revisit it as often as we can, or often as you feel like you need to. But it's very difficult, to watch your son cry and
mhm.
be very like frustrated and want answers. And one time in particular, just being completely honest, I recorded a video and I sent it to his father, and I said,
Ooh.
I just said, I think that sometimes things are best when they're seen in real time. So you can
Mhm,
understand what absence amounts to for me, because I carry the full load, right? Not just financial, not just mental, not just emotional. I carry the full load, right? And I don't get a day off from that. So I asked him,
mm.
what does this mean to you? How do you feel about what you're seeing? Because I'm the one that has to answer this question.
Cause some women would have been like, "Look, your daddy don't want to be bothered with you. Don't be crying about that joker." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that response needs to be heard because that should invoke some, woo, evoke some wow, like it should make a mom question, am I doing this right? Am I answering these questions right? Am I breaking the curses, or changing the narrative, changing the tone, right, of the conversation. Like, yeah, that made me think, it was like, wow, like I like that. I like that. I think the way you handled that was awesome.
I realized that I didn't gain anything by cheapening his father, right? That was the thing that inspired me to respond that way. I don't gain any brownie points,
Oh,
right? Because at some point he will
oh,
be a fully functional, right, fully arrived human being. And if
that's
all I
it.
did was slander his father's name the whole time, right? When one day when he meets him, he may have a different he may have a different experience, and then he'll look back on how I handled myself. And if I'm going to be the voice in his head,
Yes.
right, when he's trying to
Oh
figure
my
out what he's
God.
to be, I need to be the one that sets the tone, sets the example. So, but
Amen.
in speaking about community, so I think the biggest thing for me was attracting that community based on the vibration I put out. So I did lean heavily on God and ask him, remove those who are not here to support, right, my growth, to support my son's growth, and then bring to me the people that are going to be an integral part of my son and I's life while we're in this particular location. And so it just so happened I was
Yes.
here from 2020 to 2022, right? And we had met,
Mhm.
I met two moms, and our relationship grew and our kids hung out. And me and one of the moms in particular used to trade off on like picking the kids up or taking them to the school bus, right? Because we both had, she actually was taking the train back to New York 2 days a week to go to work, right? So I would take her daughter for her on those days, right? And, take them to the bus, take them up, and vice versa. And then the other
Wow.
mom, our relationship, I think, was a byproduct of me knowing the first mom. Both of them are amazing ladies, but I also felt like, man, I think God sent me the first mom to introduce me to the second mom, who we
Wow.
have a more like spiritual and metaphysical connection. Like her and I are into a lot of like just, meditation and visualization and journaling. And just she kind of helped continue to push that journey for me of where I was already headed with my evolution as a person. So I think God ordained that. And then this time around, right, I ended up going home for a brief break because my first tour caused a lot of mental, emotional strain. And so I went home to
Okay.
Tennessee, which did not help. And then I got a full-time job and came back. And I think this time around, I have those two beautiful ladies, and God is adding right to my Rolodex. So my job this time is much different, and my approach to the job is different as far as what I will allow. And then
Mm.
God has also blessed me with bringing a man into my life that I feel is a great addition. And so uh,
Okay.
I know.
Get
And so,
into it.
oh, just taking my time though and being present, right? I said the next time that I dated, because as you know, I spent like 2+ years in celibacy, just kind of trying to like
Mm-hmm.
focus on TJ.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said the next time that someone entered my life, the main thing I would say off the top was, I don't do fairy tales, right? So we're not going to create this fairy tale like, oh, everything is so. I want to know exactly who you are. Let's get to the nitty
Yes.
gritty. Let's have those hard conversations, and let's take it day by day in the present, right? We're, at this big
Mm.
age, we're
Big,
too,
big age.
yeah, at this big age, we're handling too many challenges in life to try
Hmm.
to. We can create our own fairy tale once we've come to a space of agreement, but we can't start
Yes.
out in a fairy tale.
No.
Disney did us a disservice, honey. So
Babe,
sorry, Disney.
it ain't all roses. No, I mean, and baby, I'm loving this for you because I was like, friend, it's been a minute, baby. We need to pick this thing on up. Like, we love TJ, but mama needs some loving too.
Yes.
No, I love it. I love that you have someone that you can trust that gives your son as much attention and time as you would give him. That really cares, that understand, that is understanding because this
Yeah.
life ain't easy. It comes with a lot of ups and downs and unexpected things. All right, all right. So, finding gratitude in the midst of all the chaos, can be very, very difficult. I know. So, like, how do you practice gratitude in your daily life as a mom? And, how has it influenced you just overall?
Absolutely. So this is actually where the military did help. So back in 2012, I went to a school
Mm,
called MRT, which is Master Resilience Trainer, and I guess they came up with the concept that resilient soldiers, right, they're more apt to handle challenges, right? They're more
mhm,
flexible and they're able to adapt. And so one of the practices that I do is it's called hunt the good stuff, right? Something my son and I do. And so
mm,
when we have a day that may be particularly challenging, I say, give me three things, right? Hunt the good stuff, right? Tell me three things and why they made your day good.
mhm,
I said they can be big or they can be small, right? And just this practice alone helps us I call it my like gratitude rampage. It's a muscle, right? Like having certain skills, you use a muscle for those skills. And the more that you exercise that muscle, the more readily you can recall things you're grateful for. And so that's something
Mm,
that I do on a regular basis, especially if it's been a complete, a challenging day. But also another thing I started doing was a jar of miracles, right? And
wow.
anytime something happened, I would write it on a note card and put it inside of a jar, right? And so if I had a particularly challenging day as a mom and even the hunt the good stuff wasn't pulling for me the way it usually would, I would go into my jar of miracles. I would pull out one of those note cards and I would read it, right? And
Mm,
yeah, that would typically set me on the right path. And I think the final thing was a perspective shift for me, probably around year. So I've been in for 16 years and change in the military.
wow. Wow.
And the perspective shift for me, right? Because every year I was like a serial accomplisher, right? To the point where I was like, I don't think I'm doing enough. And my friends were like, wait a minute, but didn't last year you went to school and do this? Then you go to airsoft school, aren't you, level 2 combatives qualified? But in my mind, because I was like a serial accomplisher, I felt like it just wasn't. And so I had to kind of shift that perspective and say, okay, let me stop in this moment and give some air to the things I have accomplished, right? To give a nod to, um,
Mm.
express my gratefulness. So those probably be the top three things. It's like the perspective shift. So hunt the good stuff, the jar of miracles, and the perspective shift. I think has truly been something that helps me remain grateful.
All right. As we wrap this up, so reflecting on your journey, what's some advice that you can give or words of encouragement to other single working mothers or other mothers in the military that have like some of the same challenges you have?
Wow. I think the first thing I would say is prioritizing yourself and self care allows you to provide stellar, superior care to your children, right? One of the things that I was missing initially was thinking if I just worked harder, did more, found more opportunities, I would be doing my son better. But I coined this phrase I say often to people, right? There is no award for the most tired, ashy, late, dusty, crusty mother, right? Because in our society, we glorify the ride or die down, work herself into the ground mother. But I ran across this story one day and it talked about a mother who passed at an early age from a situation, right? And in the story, it basically discusses how her children and her husband got up and talked about all the amazing things she did for them, right? None of them mentioned anything that they had done for her. And the phrasing at the end said, it was no wonder her heart attacked her, right? Because she didn't take time to cultivate wellness for herself. She didn't take time to cultivate rest for herself. She didn't take time to step away, and find fun or happiness or peace for herself. So that would definitely be self care equals better care for everyone else around you, right? When a mother is cared for, she can provide exponentially much better care for everybody else in her orbit. I think the other thing I would probably add, having friends that are honest and that will challenge you will be the key to your growth. We all have blind spots. And so I think one of the things that helped me grow as a mother is just having those friends that are very verbose in nature and that will speak to me unfiltered, right? Motherhood Unfiltered. I keep hearing next time on Motherhood Unfiltered. No, I'm just kidding. That's all I got, though. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Oh yeah, that was a mouthful. That was good. That was powerful. Definitely some things that I feel like all moms should be able to take from and draw from. Like, yeah, that was good. So let's wrap this thing up, girlfriend. So what we toasted to head on out of here? We toasted to.
I think we're toasting to like the statement that I made, like caring for yourself first allows you to care more deeply for others, right? It allows
Mhm.
you to care, have more time to care for others.
All right. So toasting and self-care. Better you, better everyone else around you. Okay.
Yeah.
That's so. All right. We out this thing. All right, y'all. Follow us on social media. Okay. We're on TikTok. We're on Instagram. All right.
Yeah.
Follow us at Motherhood Unfiltered underscore the podcast. That's IG. And on TikTok, you're going to follow us at Motherhood underscore unfiltered. Okay. Let's get into these unfiltered conversations, y'all. It's more to come. Lock in with us.